Okay, so we're back into the store, and one of the things we mentioned a little bit ago was talking about the differences between the prices on some of the higher end kayaks and the Riot. Hobie is sort of like the world-class standard for everything. We've been a dealer for them for years, but I wanted to point out some of those differences. We're not going to make one of them sound better than the other, but just point out the differences that you get for the roughly $1,000 to $1,200 difference. Two of the ones that come in that are pretty close together is the Hobie Outback. It's been around for a long time. Now this particular one is a 2018 model. They did make some modifications to it in 2019. But for points of comparison, this one might be a little bit better to show. And this is the Riot Mako 12. So they're both right at 12 feet long. This one's just a little bit longer. So some of those differences. The Mako is going to be about 20-25 pounds lighter. This one comes in at about 50 to 55 pounds. This one in the 75 to 80 pound range. And you're going to feel that a little bit in the fit and finish. You can push in on the floor of this one easier than you can on that. But so if you're going to haul something in a pickup truck, that kind of thing, or on a trailer where weight is just a non-issue, you wouldn't worry about it. If you're going to car top, this is a great option. Some of the other differences is probably a key one is hull access. On the Hobies and Outback, and pretty much on most of them, you have this front hatch set up here. There's an 8-inch hatch here and an 8-inch hatch here. So you have a lot more internal storage. On these, you do have access inside the hull to store things, but there's not nearly as much room, and it's a little bit harder to run electronics, any kind of wiring for transducers, batteries, lighting, anything of that nature that you might have. It's going to be easier in the Hobie. A big difference is in the propulsion systems. For the Riot, you have a propeller setup, and on the Hobie you have the classic fins. Pros and cons on those. With this you have instant reverse. With the fins you do have to pull a handle to get it in reverse, but the fins are probably a little more efficient at top speeds, and you don't have to worry about grass. So if you're fishing in an area that tends at certain times of the year to get tied up with grass, the fins are going to be easier to work with. These are easier to get out of harm's way. These are perhaps a little bit more durable if you were to hit something. As far as seating, the Hobie seat setup is going to be a little bit nicer. You have a little bit more adjustment as far as the elevation, and you can alternate that front and back, and there's lumbar support. On the Riot, you can adjust it here with some straps, and you can adjust the seat forward, back and forth this way, but not make any elevation changes. This one, leg length, is changed by the foot pedals and not the seat itself. For fishing on the Outback, and most of the models, all the Hobie models, are going to have at least 2 molded in rod holders in the back. The Outback specifically has 4, 2 in the front and 2 in the back, as does the Riot. It has 2 in the front and 2 in the back. An advantage of the Riot is it does have built-in gear tracks front, middle, and in the back. With Hobie, it is an add-on, so you'd be looking at perhaps another $50 worth of accessories to add that to match what comes standard with this. The Hobie will come with a really nice paddle. It will be an accessory with the Riot. Another big difference is the way the steering mechanism is set up. It's probably a little more intuitive with the Hobie. Both of them have handles right by the driver's side. So with the Hobie, it's just turn right and left. And with Riot, it is back and forth this way. Probably more important is the way you change you raise and lower the rudder in the back. You have handles back here on the Riot, and on the Hobie, it's a little bit easier where you're just pulling it down that way. One thing that perhaps maybe 20% of the people, 15-20% of the people with some of the Hobies want to sail it. So it's going to be like the sail there. They all that's interchangeable on nearly every It is a 10-foot mast, roughly 21 square feet, and there is a receptacle on all the Hobies to accept that. That wouldn't be an option on the Riot. And then lastly would be if you are adding a fish finder. Most of the Hobies are preset for that, in that they have a plate, a cavity underneath it, the bottom to mount the transducer. The cabling comes up into the hull and then back out at pre-drilled places. On the Riot, you would need to do all that yourself. Most likely the transducer would come off the side on one of the gear tracks. So those are just some of the differences. Like I said, this particular one in its current form is $13.99. This one in its current form is $25.49. 2019s on these are a couple $100 more. So we encourage everybody just to come in. You can kick the tires, see which one works best for you. There's not necessarily a right answer for everyone, but we'd be glad to show you. If you need to take a demo ride, just come on in and we'll get you out on the water, see which one's the best for you.